I'm broke right now. Now, when I use my very last cash that I had, I've been saving this piggy bank for quite a while now. It's like a tin. Now I'm trying to open it up, as you can see right now. Trying to get some cash, man. Wanna eat, wanna go to the shop and get some food. Totally broke. But you know what? I'm gonna survive. I'll be fine. I've been keeping this guy for nearly 8 months, so there should be some good stuff in here. Let's have a look. How did I go from being so poor in one of the most poorest countries on the planet to becoming a millionaire in such a small period of time?
You know, there's a difference between having money or pretending to have it.
A lot of people wonder how I did this without any college degree, without any special skills or anything like that. And today I have decided to tell this story in a much more detailed manner. Also with some pictures. I'll show you guys some of the odd photos, some of the odd videos, because the majority of my journey has actually been documented. There's video from a long time ago. I'm not really gonna cut anything out. I'll share all the trauma, the best moments and everything, because I believe that all those little moments, all the tribulations that I faced throughout has made me who I am today. I'm proud of every side of my story. So it's gonna be a very long video. I hope that you guys learned something from it as well. So, where did it all start? I was born in one of the most poorest countries on the planet, a country called Malawi. It's in Central East Africa. My childhood basically was filled with climbing trees, running around without shoes, and playing football. That was the only kind of activities that we had. And every night after the game, we would fight. It was just normal, highly violent from the moment we were kids, because even though I was in one of the most poorest countries, I was also living in one of the most poorest neighborhoods. It's called Area 25. And so our lifestyle was like that. And I went to school with children who would go to school without shoes. I was just lucky enough that my parents could at least afford to dress us properly, put some shoes on our feet, then we could go to school. But it wasn't some fancy kind of stuff. It was poverty. We were poor. No cars, nothing. Growing up around this kind of environment exposed me to a lot of things that I've seen, and I think they still have an effect on me. I saw a lot of violence, which some of it I kind of participated. Like I say, being young, there was not so much civil life in a way that people actually express themselves in much more extreme ways, like either extreme violence or extreme alcoholism. And you would see violence around families, and you would also see violence around friends. So this is something that I grew up just watching when I was young. At least I didn't have that kind of element though. In my family, we never had alcohol or physical violence or anything like that. So as a kid, I was very drawn to technology. I really liked tech. But again, if you're poor, you don't really had that much options. In fact, for about 3 years in my life when I was young, maybe from like 10 to 13 or 14 years old, we lived 3 years in a house that had no electricity, no running water, no glasses in the windows. We literally just put some cardboard around it because my dad had just built his first house and he didn't have enough money to actually build it all at once completely. So what happens in those kind of environments is that people move into these homes when they're still unfinished. So we moved in and would be finishing through the house while we lived there. So, at some point you buy the glasses and you put them together, then you put the floor. We even entered the house without a concrete cement, nothing. It was just like, you enter a house and it's basically just sand inside the house. So we lived like that until it was being built up, and we finally had like the electricity, the water at a later stage. I knew the things that I wanted in my life. I wanted a computer so much. That was the number one thing that I wanted all my life. But again, we couldn't afford it. I also knew about PlayStation and video games and things like that, but we couldn't afford it. And my experience playing a PlayStation actually was through going at friends' house who were well doing, and then would play at their home. Sometimes we have to give them a little bit of money just so that they can allow us to play some video games with them. Obviously, as a young person, I was going to school, but to me, it was more like a chore. I never really enjoyed it or understand why I had to do it. I was just doing it because, well, your parents actually say you have to go there. If you don't, you obviously had some serious punishment at home. So I just pushed myself through it. And just after I started high school, my father went to South Africa. He moved from Malawi to South Africa to look for better job opportunities. And my mother would also go back and forth between Malawi and South Africa later on. And I ended up finishing high school on my own. My parents were in South Africa. Africa. I was still in Malawi. Just pushed myself through it. I just literally went there to write the exams. I had already given up before I even finished the last class. I didn't even do that well to get a bursary. So basically it meant I just had to sit down and figure out something to do in my life. At that moment, I had already started spending most of my time with people who had computers because I was really drawn to computers. I just wanted to learn how they work. I wanted to learn whatever I could. So I used to go at studios where people made music. In the ghetto, you had people who are producers or they're learning to become a producer. They were the only guy in the hood who has the computer. So I used to spend most of my time there. And then I got into music as well. I tried to become a rapper and I shot my own music video.
Yeah, rhyme sick, great, representing the streets. Let's do this, man. Yeah. This is me, no NSK, no more. Raw nigga fuck with hip hop, jump the fuck. Hip hop on my shoulder, I got it like a jump with make bloods. Come next, that's enough. We all underground, moving to another level. Cut that shit off, we end up on the devil. Rub the history, grab it loud like a gripper. You hit the underground, bloody fool, that is it.
And then after a year, my mother did the unimaginable. She sent me a computer from South Africa for the first time, just when I had just finished high school. And to me, that was the most life-changing moment for me because I had already learned how to do the basics and work with computers at my friends at the studios. Then I just locked in the house. I basically disconnected myself from my friends and everyone else. I was spending all my time on my computer, basically teaching myself how to code, how to design, how to edit videos. The only time that I could find myself outside was when the electricity were off because we didn't really have 24-hour electricity. We'd have like 18 hours and then 4 to 6 hours maybe without electricity. So I was sleeping when the electricity is off. Or I would go to the internet cafe. I would spend 1 hour in the internet cafe to download PDF tutorials on how to do things on a computer, coding or Photoshop or whatever. And then I would just go back home, lock myself in. My friends were like, yo man, I don't know, you changed, you know, you don't really hang out with anyone anymore. The problem though was that I also didn't like what was going outside. So what happens in the ghetto is that most people go into smoking weed and alcohol abuse, cheap alcohol basically, and then they just get destroyed. And I didn't really want to be part of that. So getting the computer gave me a direction and something to focus on other than all the negativity that was going around me. Eventually, my mother came back from South Africa, and then when she came back, she was getting pissed at me for just being on my computer. I wasn't seeing anyone. I wasn't really social anymore. And she started getting concerned about it and she would tune me for it, but then I wouldn't stop. But then she started seeing something that I started making a little bit of money for myself because I could edit people's videos, design a poster, or do something on my own where I wasn't broke as much, you know, for my age. And then she started giving into it, even though she still wanted me to go to university to apply to some course or whatever, but I just didn't do it.